and action. Episode 201 PnP Weekly. It is 13th of March 2023, unless I'm completely mistaken. Is it? It is. Yes.
It is.
Wasn't saving too long. Cool. That is already a good start. So we know what day it is. In PnP Weekly, I always talk about the latest on Microsoft 365, all up, and Power Platform. We covered the news from Microsoft and also community written blog posts and videos. So we're going to call out a few things. Please use hashtag PnP Weekly in Twitter so we know awesome stuff what you are writing. We're always obviously trying to use multiple different ways of getting all of the awesome stuff what people are writing, but if you would add that hashtag PnP Weekly in your tweet, that helps on us finding who you are. My name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a principal product manager in Microsoft 365 platform areas, and with me as a co-host.
Hey everybody, my name is Waldek Mastykarz. Yes, exactly that. I am exactly that. Thank you.
Sorry.
Almost on time. Yes. On that bombshell.
Cool. Let's actually. So today we have a visitor who's who? Who do we have?
Eric Overfield.
Eric Overfield. Eric is a long-term, well-known MVP and RD. So what is an RD? Can you explain what is
Regional Director.
What does it mean? Is he employed by Microsoft? That sounds impressive.
Who aren't employed by us, and they typically help the customers make the best use of their investments in Microsoft tech. So they help them with their cloud investments, software investments, hardware investments, whatever investments they have with Microsoft tech. RDs are there to advise customers. And in a similar way, MVPs engage with community at breadth. RDs engage with the customers and guide them through how to make use of the tech that they have.
Absolutely. That's a good way of defining what our RD is. So Eric is both MVP and an RD, and he's been around for a long time. And we're going to talk about a certain project, what he's been working on, and a few other things for sure. But let's actually jump right on the interview, and let's see where it goes from there. Excellent. Let's get started on the PnP Weekly episode 201. You're the first in these hundreds, Eric. So welcome. Now let's start with the basics. Who is Eric Overfield and what do you do for a living? Let's start from there.
My name is Eric Overfield. I'm a CPO at PixelMill and Creospark. Can talk about that in a little bit as well. I'm a Microsoft MVP in the M365 apps and services space. I'm a Microsoft Regional Director. Been working in the SharePoint world since, like 2008 or 2007, I think is what my bio says, but it goes back even further. Just been having fun evolving with Microsoft and playing in the community and working with you all and with clients and customers and just having a great time doing all kinds of things within the space.
There was already a lot of stuff what you mentioned there. Let's start first with you mentioned the SharePoint. You're probably doing a lot more than SharePoint nowadays, of course, because Microsoft 365 is certainly not just about SharePoint. So where do you actually spend your time? What does it mean to be a CPO? It was CPO? Or 3 CPO, FPO, CDP.
3 CPO.
3 product officers. So most of my daytime now has been spent to building product within teams that really doesn't have much to do with SharePoint, except that we're using all of the SharePoint framework technologies. We're using React, we're using TypeScript, we're using Azure Services backends because I got to say it's nice and clean. I think that SharePoint framework got a lot of those pieces right. And I think it's been fun to see that all evolve. So my original expertise, was in SharePoint, but now I'm spending a lot more time with Viva. I'm really into Viva Goals. As a CPO, I used to be owner-president of PixelMill. Now I merged it with Creospark. So I'm a business owner, and what I really saw and I became a huge convert of is the OKRs, objectives and key results. And I think that Goals is interesting. So not only do we use it, I am a huge fan of it, and we use it within the orgs that I work with. But I want to promote it out in the industry. So you're going to see a lot more of me speaking on the topics around different conferences in 2023 and beyond. I just think it's super cool. So not dev, and I'm a dev by trade, but I'm kind of having to put a little my dev hat away, which is why my community work's so important to me, because I get to put my dev hat back on as I'm starting to lead more teams to be able to dev things. And in a sense, I'm outsourcing it to my team, and I just work along the architectural side.
Yeah, but then you use the open source and community to give your hands get your hands dirty, right? So keeping fresh on things. So
like so many of my mentors, the people that I look up to, that you've had on this on these weekly calls here, they've had to, as you start to develop more, as you got more experience, a lot of us, we move on into the management side or the leadership side, but we still like what we do. I'm a builder by trade. This last weekend, I'm replumbing my house on my own. That's what I like to do. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but I just, sweat and copper is a fun thing to do.
You cannot do that in Scandinavia. That would be illegal. So, but
really, I'm sorry to hear that.
You would have to have the right legal responsibilities.
Really? My house.
Yes. Okay, doesn't matter if it's your house.
Also, we get the same thing. Like you are not allowed to rewire you can rewire your whole house, but you are not allowed to attach the wires to the switchboard.
The grid. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you are not allowed to do that, but everything else, like pipes, be my guest, like switch yourself.
Wow.
Eric,
okay.
You mentioned in there an interesting thing that I'd like you to elaborate a bit on. Like you're an ISV, you build products for customers, right? Like you are not working on projects anymore. You build a product, correct?
Most of my time is definitely spent on that. But yes, my other sister company that I'm still CPO of, is my partner company. We're still a service integrator, and we do that, but I don't spend nearly as much time on that anymore. So yeah, I'm more building a product.
You mentioned that you're building a product on SPFX, and that there's this myth going around. Sorry, is that
not quite? I'm using the SPFX technology. But I think I see where you're going to go, and I'm a big believer.
Don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions.
No, so I'm just using the same technology stack because I gotta say that I think they did it right. And I know some people probably would say this, that, or the other about whatever. Yeah, but the framework, the idea of TypeScript, the idea of React, to me are rock solid, and watching them evolve has been good. I'm sure we can complain that maybe SPFX can move a little quicker on adopting some of the later stuff. Okay, cool. But I gotta say, it's going pretty fast still. We're up to 1.17, right? It's been what, 4 or 5 years now. I mean, to me, that's pretty good. I'm waiting for 2.0, guys. But yeah, exactly.
It's almost like the Microsoft Graph, right? So
exactly.
We could do it. We won't. But we could. But we won't.
Exactly. So no, it's but the framework, I think, is the methodology in the framework, and the build stack is what we're basically using. Now we use Nest.js as our middleware, so that's not at all related to what SharePoint has done. But most of us come from the SharePoint world within my organization, and so that's where we felt most comfortable. And it's good. Like, why would we want to do something different?
Yeah, cool. And of course, then they're using Azure Functions and all the backend services.
Absolutely,
that's what I was saying. So, yeah.
The last one that we did that was really fun was we integrated with cognitive services and using the all the language services to build our own bot. Now, there's reasons why we wanted to do that, not using ChatGPT or GDP 3.5 just yet, but I mean, it's so easy once you have your own framework set up to be able to communicate with these new services, and they scale really well. Here I'm like selling something that I'm not a Microsoft salesperson, but no, I like the technology stack, and it's worked really well for us. So
yeah, and it is fair for those who are not familiar. It is completely seamless, single sign-on from Azure AD, secured, calling Azure Functions and all of that. And you don't need to do anything; it just works, which is the really cool thing. It really does. So, but you also actually mentioned something which was interesting on your intro. You are Office Apps and Services MVP, not Microsoft 365 Developer MVP. How did that happen?
Well,
is that
M365 apps and services?
Yeah, exactly.
Apps and services. Well, because most of my time in the community moved away from being a lot of the dev sessions more into the general community leadership, which, I mean, this is interesting. So I'm also a Microsoft Regional Director, which that's an interesting one. That's a program going through a lot of different changes and all. But the reason why I'm in that program, and that's an interesting one, I'm going to dive into it a little, unless you want to go somewhere else with it.
Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, so the RD program, because I keep getting asked questions like, what's this whole regional director thing? Is it MVP? And no, not really, but it has some echoes to it, but it doesn't. The RD program, at least when I was added to it, I think it's about 2017, it's around business leadership. That was one of the big things they really wanted, were business owners and business leaders, people within large orgs that run groups or something. There's also the community leadership, speaking ability and experience, online influence, and the network that you have. And there's also this technical area. And what happened was in the technical area, what they really want to see is we have multiple Microsoft technology stacks you work with as well as outside of Microsoft. And I think in doing that, and being the business owner, it put my contributions for being an MVP more in the M365 apps and services space rather than the developer space. And that also makes sense because as a business owner looking to sell services, giving away marketing, but I think most people know this, most developers don't have the decision-making ability. And so I ended up speaking more, presenting more, and creating more community content around the business leaders or the decision makers. But my passion is still dev, which is where that's how I get involved in the starter kit, which I know we're going to talk about, or I hope we talk about, because I really want to promote that. That's a 100% community effort. I just think it's a super cool project. So that's kind of why I'm in that space within it. For 1 year, actually, I was an MVP on both, but I just couldn't keep my contributions up to qualify for 2 because you got to do double work, and I had a wife and kids, and that took away some of that time. So
you need to prioritize your life. I mean, it is actually, and in bigger picture, it makes perfect sense, because also to be able to be a good developer, you need to understand the business, or an architect, you need to understand the business, and then to be able to be a good developer, you need to know what is the basic out-of-the-box features in Microsoft 365. It's a bit different when we talk about Azure, because Microsoft Azure is that's a set of tools. That's not a functionality as such, like in the Microsoft 365. Dynamics are a bit different.
I respect
not a set of functionalities. Hold on, let me understand that. So
other one is platform as a service. Other one is a service or a SaaS. So basically, Microsoft 365 is a cloud service, which you can extend. Azure is a platform as a service. You don't actually use it as an end user. You use the capabilities within your application. There's a clear difference between the setup, right?
Yeah, unless you build an app on top of M365 that integrates with file storage.
Of course you do.
OneDrive.
Yes, of course you do. Yeah, and it's complicated. So no wonder every now and then we hear that new people who are like, I'm a new developer, I want to understand how Microsoft 365 works. And it's like, oh, I'm scared. I don't understand. So it's not super easy.
Yeah,
exactly. Now, you mentioned also, and we've been now jumping from one topic to another. You mentioned the starter kits. Can you do a quick intro on the what is the starter kit, which you mentioned, and you actually have a great new functionalities there as well.
Yeah, we had some fun with this one. Okay, so the starter kit, pretty easy to find. You know, we can Bing it, Google it, ChatGPT it. The SharePoint Starter Kit is still what it's called. It's the github.com PnP/SP-starter-kit. A lot of people do know about it. It's been around for a while. It's something that I inherited. I think it was Paulo that originally created, or somebody. I actually don't remember the original creators.
I think it is Paulo, Elio. I think I had something to do with that at some point as well. And
I touched some of the V1, but then
Waldek was there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely did. So here's what the starter kit is, and we've moved on to version 3, which the big release in version 3 was really, we upgraded it to SPFX 116.1, I believe. I don't, because 117, I think we got the .1 in, which I'm really happy to see, because it modernized it. And basically, though, it's and kind of reading it, some of the notes, it's looking to be a comprehensive solution for SharePoint Online, which gives you a whole bunch of functions and features and functionality around provisioning and around a lot of web parts and some extensions, but it's a huge technology demonstrator, all open source. So not only can you just download it, run the 3 or 4 PowerShell commandlets, and it will install a communication site that turns it into a hub site. It adds 2 team sites. You can rename them a little bit. It installs a whole bunch of web parts that they were all separated out as individual SP PKGs in version 2, and we continue that with version 3. So you can have it installed in like 5-10 minutes, and it has all the different web parts communicate with graph, or they communicate with term sets, or there's a couple of extensions. There's even a command set all put together, but you have the source, so you can get this technology demonstrator and see it. But then anything is fully customizable, because you can go and look at how we did it and then go make it and turn it into your own. It's kind of like the other provisioning thing. I just blanked on the name, so that you can see how you could build your own intranet solution for your own organization. And it's all the PnP template is there. You can totally manipulate. It's thousands of lines long. It's complex enough where it's showing you a lot of the magic that you've seen elsewhere. And when you get stuck on documentation, you can see a big example of how to use the React Graph toolkit, which I think was super cool. That was Waldek and I put some effort into there to get that upgraded to 2.4. Is that, I think, the most recent 2.9. Yeah, so it's easy to use. It's super simple install. It's more manual on purpose because it's so that you can do it and you can take control of it. And I think the documentation is pretty good. I put a lot of effort into that, or I help the community put a lot of effort into it so that we can help walk you through the process of trying to do something.
I have to say that I'm watching the stats on one of the screens, and because I needed to check that out. It's forked 508 times. It's a 691 stars, which is a decent number as well.
I'll take it. That's pretty cool.
Eric Overfield, Paolo Pialorsi, Irvin Van Hoonen, Chandani Prani, Elio Bucameron, Waldek, Mikael Svensson. This is who's who. Will Holland from Treewill.
Yes.
Ward Hamann, Sebastian Lebert, Paul Schafferlane.
Who is in there? You, Vesa.
David Laskevitz, I'm there as well. Yeah, Don Kirkham. Yannick Reckmans, Alex Terentiev, Fabio Franci.
Well, because it's pulling it all together, right? That's the point. Is so like one of the things that I really want to add, Vesa, you and I talked about was adding a Viva Connection dashboard into it, or putting this in some ACEs as well. Because the idea is, how would you deploy this within an organization where you want to be able to routinely, you want to basically do, I like a lot of the third-party vendors that do provisioning and whatnot, but you could do it yourself. A little bit of manual aspects to it, but you can do a lot of that already with PnP. The code is out there. The examples are out there. This just pulls it together into a bigger story. That's why I gravitated towards this. I like the other projects. I would love to be involved with some of the other ones. It's just timing. But I was building intranets, well, we still are, for our customers. That's why I gravitated to this, because I thought this was a great answer to a lot of the canned intranet solutions, or a lot of the other things that other people or Microsoft has provided, all within one example. And I like that. So I think it's useful. I think it's valuable. If I had to pick one, I'd probably pick like PowerShell over this. I'd probably pick some of the other projects overall if I only had to pick one. But as pulling it all together, I just think it's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. It is a really, really cool solution for sure. Now, is intranet still a thing? Now that you said that it's demonstrating an intranet, is an intranet and corporate communication still a thing in the context of intranet?
Well, so yes, and no, and yes. Yes, I don't think the intranet's going anywhere necessarily soon. I think there's a lot of story around Viva Connections, Viva Home, where we're going to be integrating more within the flow of work. I mean, this is my shameless plug for my product. We're looking to fit in that space as well, not in the intranet, not against like Viva Connections, but trying to work within the flow of work. And all of us are in teams now. And again, the Microsoft world is within Teams. Those other people using that other like, S and G kind of products, we don't know about them. There's a whole group, I don't care about them. If people use Teams, we're working within that. And so your intranet shouldn't be a standalone thing. Like to me, Viva Connections, Viva Home, that makes sense to me, and some of the other Viva products to help get the messaging out. But I still believe in intranet where it pulls it all together in a web page form. Because what are the other web page applications that Microsoft has? Like, there's none. I mean, yes, there's some other things, but really it's SharePoint. So if you want to create a web page of content, which often you do with hyperlinks, with linking to things, SharePoint's going to be the place to store that data. And I think an intranet is still useful to pull it together. 5, 10, 15 years from now, I'm not going to try to claim that far. I believe SharePoint has got a very long life, personally. This is me as an outsider, not trying to shill for you guys or anything. It's the backbone of all of it. So I think that's going to be strong. I can see that, like, as people do digital transformation, maybe going from on-prem to SharePoint Online is going to start to diminish because most people will be there.
Of course.
Maybe the big intranet projects of yesteryear aren't going to be as big, but I still think that the intranet, or the idea of departmental sites and hubs and things, are still going to be very important, because some things are a larger message that you're not going to put in Gauge or something like that. You're not going to put them in those Viva products because it's not a news announcement. It's here's who we are, here's what we're working on. And Viva Topics has to pull all that together as well. So long answer, I believe, yes, it still is important. It's just that now there are newer things that will take a little more getting used to.
Yep.
It's also an interesting thing, right? Because like if you look at the desire to publish written content online, as you said, with the hyperlinks, rich media, there's like a whole spectrum where you want to go. Like you can go from very short things and very ephemeral things like on Teams through Engage to a Word doc and a PowerPoint, right? And it's interesting to see like how we shift from one end to the other over time and where we end up being in the end. How do you see that evolve over the last few years?
So many ways I could answer that. I want the thought that came to my head though was evolution never stops. Everything's going to keep evolving. So we're never going to be resting where we're at because we still haven't hit the end game. So kind of like where we're going to end up. I have no idea. Like it's going to keep evolving. Where are we in the? I'm still finding that people want to be able to put up Word docs, PowerPoints. They want to be able to use SharePoint and OneDrive to be able to hold and share files and folders, and they want to use Teams to communicate and whatnot. But there's still the value of the web page, the bigger stamp on time that's a little more pretty than a Word doc might be, not page driven or slide driven as PowerPoint. So you want still a web page where you have control of the width, the height, mobile, how tall it's going to be. It's not paging, it's more scrolling. But we are using, like I'm seeing, and our clients are doing this as well. We're using a lot of co-authoring. We're using a lot of Teams communication to be able to do maybe what a web page used to kind of do. Like a team site for us is not as important in general because what we're doing is now chatting within Teams, and we're working with the file within Teams. We're using the tabs within Teams to help manage a lot of this. And so the team site is not supported. Now we have clients that are using it for very specific purposes, and it works wonderfully for that. So many ways I could answer that, but I'll leave it at that for now. With evolution, right?
And there's so many big different. There's a massive differences, of course, on the size of the company as well. So, is it a large enterprise? Is it a smaller thing? Is it 50 people, small startup? The dynamics is completely different.
Even then, there's this very interesting notion, like how does a piece of content evolve over time? Like you might start with an idea, a title, a bullet point list. Like you start to then expand it into paragraphs. At that point, you want to invite other folks to chime in, give comments, review, revise, edit. At some point, all of that is done, and that becomes then the thing you want everybody else to read, but not comment on paragraphs or tags, but maybe add a comment at the end or ask stuff. So, and I don't see currently us doing really well in that space, like allowing you to grow from small paragraph of text into a fully fledged doc over time.
Loop.
Well, no, not really. Not really. Okay. Loop isn't that. Right? Loop isn't that.
It kind of aims to be that, but not fully. I think it's generally because what you're asking for is really hard. Yes, because as you said, I want the history of the communication getting there. I need the single source of truth. I then want a somewhat finalized web page that still is pretty. It has the navigation structure, the layout and whatnot that a Word doc would never do, a PowerPoint would never do, a loop component won't do. But absolutely, and we struggle with it internally. Where do we have that communication so that it's still available in the flow of work? You put it in OneNote, you put a loop component within Teams chat. Do you pin it to the top so that you remember it, but then you forget it? Because Teams is very, to use the word you use, it's ethereal. It is. If you miss the comment, it's gone. You won't see it again, right? It's just it's lost in the ether. But it's hard. So when I try to search in Teams a lot, and it's challenging to find what I'm looking for, but I don't even remember the right words that I used when I was looking for that thing, and I don't remember where I put it. So it's hard for me to even tell Teams where to go find it. And maybe if we ever got GDP, I could just ask, hey, Teams, I had this chat with this coworker. We talked about this. Can you tell me what I said? And I would expect AI to do it. Now, I expect it to be free. I expect it to not cost anything more. But I know that the processing power probably just used like a nuclear sub to process all of those signals to get me that answer.
I know. Let's just why is the software even paid? Why do we need to pay for the software? What is this thing? Why can't we share all of the things for free for everybody in the world?
I love it. I mean, like, so Teams Premium. And I looked at that and I said, I have to pay more for it. But when you actually look at what it's giving you, that's a pretty good deal. And again, I'm not a software salesperson. I'm not selling licenses, but I got to be fair here that the amount of cost to it. So I get it. It frustrates me. I don't think we signed up for premium yet on our company, but I look at the features and I'm like, wow, this could be really interesting if I can get all this transcription. We're a smaller company. We don't need some of the features they do, and we do our own notes, but some of the automated notes and the recordings, even the recordings we have been getting have been really good within Teams. And the AI to drive that, wow. I mean, it's pretty cool.
It's so I guess it's fine to nowadays say this even on a recording. We've been testing the automatic meeting thing and task and actions for a long time, right, Waldek? In internal meetings. So basically, and it's a magical thing. Like immediately when it closes the meeting, it says, "Hey, we extracted these from the discussion," and you're like, "How?
You're like, is this a task? No, and nothing is a task." And you're like, "I don't have anything to do here."
So meeting recordings, we try to record a lot of meetings, and we tell our clients to as well, and it's always good. But to now go find the meeting that you said that thing, and to go find where it was, you need. It's hard, and so
finding
I'm
things video.
AI, driving a lot of that, and you throw GPT on top of that to be able to ask more of a question rather than you can ask the question and it gets interpreted. I'm excited to see what the future is. I'm extremely scared. I've got 2 young boys. I'm scared about how they're going to have all their essays written for them. Like, that's kind of scary. But generally, to be more productive in work, I think will be fascinating to watch what happens in the next couple of years. I really don't know how it's going to get paid for. I have to think that the Azure services needed to process OpenAI has got to be insane, but I don't know. As much as I'd love to go into that space, I don't have time. I am where I'm at.
We also need to focus on, exactly. We need to focus on the day-to-day work, and it's interesting. Now, on 16th of March, so that is Thursday, as we're recording this on Monday, we do have the AI event with Satya and Jared Spataro, and that should be interesting. So again, if you can't make it, so anybody who's watching this or listening this, or if you missed it, have a look on the recording, because again, it's not like you need to see the things on the exact second to be benefiting out of them. So there's going to be probably The Verge or whatever is going to do great summaries on that. So it should be good.
There'll be a AI summary of the AI event.
Yes, exactly.
Have you guys been looking at the Bing mobile app?
Yep.
Yes. That's cool.
Yeah.
So just to going back to the AI discussion coming up, like AI within Office, and to see that kind of feature of Bing Mobile come into the workplace, I think is going to be fascinating. Yeah. And to then, I don't even know what the APIs are going to look like to be able to communicate in with that to make our apps smarter by being able to tie into that is going to be very interesting. Very interesting.
I think one of the interesting kind of side points on that one, which we chatted a few times with Waldek as well, is to think about all of the information. ChatGPT 3 is basically scan all of the public information. It's public. There's no echoes, there's no permissions, there's no confidentiality, there's no NDA, there's no nothing. As we go to the enterprise world, it gets 100 times more difficult to understand who has access on where and what and which permissions and all of that, because there's so many variables on that.
Especially when you get to the point that you provide or AI gives you an answer along with how it arrived to it, and you're like, aha, I didn't know we were doing this, or there's a tentative thing, and then suddenly everything's in the open. So there'll be a very interesting thing.
I want to point that to SVB's financial data, last week. And so the employee says, so how's our bank doing? We're doing great. But the CEO would type it in. Hey, GPT, how's our company doing? You're about to go bankrupt in 2 days.
Yeah. Well, apparently the CEO did know. So apparently, so because otherwise, why would they be selling their stocks 2 weeks before? But no, I'm not saying that. Exactly.
Exactly. But no, I hadn't actually thought that through. You're right, because what I'm a trust but verify person. So when I want to ask GPT about what's the best way to sweat copper pipe, I want the answer, but I would like to know, where did you source that from? But because I don't need you to source it directly the way Google would or Bing used to do. I want to know, here's the right way. And if you want to go see the source where I came up with that answer, here's how to do it.
I think Bing is doing an awesome job on that, the new chat Bing, because it does those references and everything else, and it's and still, can you trust it? Well, it's same as Google, or Bing, the classic Bing. Can you trust the results what you're getting? It's you need to be, even in Scandinavia, at least in Finland, they teach for the kids starting from like third grade, they start teaching the right ways of reading internet, which is basically don't just blindly believe in everything that's out there. It's not necessarily true.
Wikipedia says it's the truth, okay?
Right. Right. It's got to be,
That's
right?
True. Yeah, it's interesting. For sure. So, and it's going to be fascinating to see where we will be within a few years with that. There's a lot of interesting opportunities. And like I said, Derek, everybody is super busy with their day job anyway. So it has to go to the certain level when it starts being super valuable, when it's really will take off. So we'll see what it is. What is the killer app of AI in enterprise days? We'll see.
Saving you time. So we made a joke. Have AI attend a meeting for you, summarize it for you back. Like there will be like, I bet just number one selling millions in the first week.
So the three of us are not going to have this call again. We're going to have 3 AI bots say, go ahead and go have a 30-minute discussion.
There was this meme.
That's a Waldek and Eric.
There was this meme the other day, like how GPT is going to influence the way we communicate. And it was like a person says a word, AI expands it into a paragraph, which is being sent to another AI, which boils it down to a word. A person reads the word, throw at it another word, which is then expanded by AI to send back a reply, which is a paragraph, which another AI boils down to a single word.
I love it. That is hilarious. Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. I mean, I think it'll be interesting, and just gotta be careful some of the stuff you read out there on directions. So.
Exactly.
Try to think for yourself. And we need to raise the next generation to still be critical thinkers. That's a big one for me. And
sure.
I like some of the accelerators around the coding and stuff, but still, I mean, we all came up through the Pascal C programming days, and I still think that that's important to understand the coding of where it works and why it works, and not just cheat and let some other system do it.
Yep. Yeah. The basics. Now that, and of course on the basic, it's not like we're teaching assembler anymore in schools, but I've done my studies of assembler at some point, and it was horrible. Yeah. So,
but it was worthwhile to know, and I built my own like simple computers digitally. But I built my own, taking from the gates, the logic gates, and you slowly build modules up. And I think it was like a 2 or 3 bit computer, but you could still get it to do basic things, and to know what's underneath the scenes. Really, I think is important. But I knew I was never going to go onto that world. So, but I at least did it.
Yeah. So you have the baseline information and understanding. And same, by the way, applies to AI stuff. It's worthwhile to read some of the studies on how does it actually work, because there is great documentation out there related on that. So I had recently last week had a chat with Victor Villain on this topic, and he had spent his Hack Learn for a week on studying how does the AI and machine learning actually works behind the scenes, which is apparently super fascinating. I haven't done that research yet, but it sounds like, I really need to have a look on this. Kind of understanding the basics rather than just, hey, it's AI, but how does it actually work? So
again, I got to pick my battles.
That's true as well.
I think that I look forward to everybody doing that kind of stuff that they see fit, and investigate what they want to. Yeah, because there's just so much to learn. There's so much to do. There's fun hardware stuff to do with the IoT, and just so many networks that you can get involved in, and so many different groups that are doing all this fun tinkering of things, and it's all this data out there that you can manipulate. It's just fun to do. Keep your mind busy.
There was the other day. There was somebody who made a great comment. Right, there's so much stuff out there that if you don't pay attention, you can spend all the time you have learning and not doing anything, and you will only learn and read more and learn more, and you will know it all, and you will not put it to any use.
Well, very true. But it's fun. It's interesting. We only go around the sun so many times. You keep yourself interested, and if it looks interesting, I I highly recommend it. So people ask, what do it takes to be an MVP? And it's joining the community. And even if you're not going to find communities you want to be involved in, whatever they are. The underwater basket weaving is the joke from the college I went to. There's all these communities, just be involved in them. And I'm still an introvert. Like, you can still be an introvert in these communities, and there's other people that have the same interests. Just I would get involved with them. If you want to be an MVP, you'd want to start taking some more of the leadership in it, or you want to be contributing is the big one. You actually want to then create the materials or speak, and a lot of us don't want to speak, write blog posts, which I still think is valuable. Do YouTube, and I guess it'd be what are the Instagram stuff, like the short videos and stuff. I just still use
TikTok
for that.
TikTok,
sure. However you create that material and work to get following and get noticed, and that's how you become an MVP. But I just think get involved in the communities you enjoy being in. And some people, they don't have time. Like my wife right now, she's very active, but she's 100% focused on the kids. I think that's wonderful. Just have something to do that keeps you happy and entertained, because that always evolves as well, right?
True.
Yeah,
true.
Definitely.
Sure, absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Now, from a timing perspective, we're running a bit low on the time. Eric, anything interesting what you're doing this week? Let's do a quick round of what's happening this week discussion. You don't have to disclose any NDA. You can, of course. There's nobody else listening except us.
This week is busy.
It's only fine.
On the work side, we just got we're working hard to get what we're calling our Q1 refresh out. So it's just a lot of fun development and stuff. It's an exciting week to just be doing that. I think what's interesting though is as we hit into 2023, a lot more conferences are taking place. I'm going to kind of tweak your question to some things that are coming up, and these are conferences I'm going to. I'm not involved in, so I'm not making money off of them by you attending them or anything, but there's the 365 EduCons that are happening in DC and Seattle and somewhere else. In the States. The F365 conference is happening in May. I'll be there as well in Las Vegas. These are all, of course, US based. There's more community events that are happening. There's going to be a community event in the Los Angeles region in May 20th. I think is the date it's out there. It's public. I just don't exactly remember the specific dates. But if you're in the Southern California region, you can always hit me up or just go to your favorite search engine, ask GPT for it. I'm sure it will tell you. It's around May 20th. And so there's a lot of community events that are happening, some free, some paid. There's a lot of good training out there. Things are evolving so fast. I think it's one of the best ways still. Listening to the different videos, I think helps, but having an opportunity to go and meet the experts, meet the people who maybe you've been listening to, and go chat with them. I've yet to find speakers that are not willing to just talk to you. Go grab them. You see them at lunch. Go sit down and say, "Hey, I got a question."
Regardless, they are introverts or not. Exactly. So
they're there to talk to you. They are. That's why we go to these conferences. And so use that opportunity. Get that 5 minutes of free consulting. We kind of joke, don't ask for an hour, because that's a little like, well, it's a lot of how we make our money. But we're happy to share what we do, point you in the right direction, go get you the videos, the blog posts. You need to go talk to this person because that person really knows it. I mean, when I get a SPFX question I can't answer, go talk to Andrew Connell. I mean, fair enough. He knows what he's talking about, and he goes to a lot of these, and a lot of other really good known experts are also at these conferences. So get out there, go back to the community. If you want to wear a mask, of course, almost all of those absolutely are supportive of you. So you can take the precautions that are necessary for yourself. And I know there's some also happening in the Europe. I'm going to be in Dublin for the Power Platform Conference in June.
And European Collaboration Summit happening in May. So end of May.
And there's another one at the beginning of December.
In Amsterdam
as well. So when you ask, like, what am I doing this week? What I'm going to reword it. There's a lot going on this year as well. I hope to see a lot of you at these conferences. I hope you get out there again. If you feel safe and comfortable, and a lot of them are free. So there's good reasons to you can take away some of the cost problems.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. Waldek, anything interesting on your side for this week? Just to call it. I know you have so much to do, but you're doing it the Microsoft Craft Hackathon. That's closing up on Wednesday 15th.
On Wednesday, yes, exactly. So, on Wednesday we are finishing up the hackathon, and it's a finish for us. It's not a finish for anyone else, right? Because on Wednesday
finish?
Finish. Yes, that's no. We're not going there. So Yes.
Nice.
He was sitting on this the whole hour just to be able to press that button. There you go. Right. So we will have a
Stream Deck comes in handy.
session about how you can actually go on with exploring .NET and Microsoft Graph and everything else that we have to offer with community and MVPs, right? So we will talk more about that, and then afterwards we get to look at everybody's hacks and try to basically make really the hardest choice in life, pick the winners. Because like all of these apps are so cool, and we've seen folks doing really awesome work, and now we will have to compare the apples and pears and really pick out the best three. So there will be an interesting 2 weeks between Wednesday this week and Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the month, when we will aim to announce the winners. So there will be that. And other than that, there is the regular work on CLI for Microsoft 365, the Microsoft Graph Developer Proxy, community work. I guess that is about it. Then basically, my time in a week is gone.
Yeah, that's true. That happens so fast as well. So, and for me, just recapping on things, a lot of community stuff, and promotional things this week. And I guess we're moving forward with 1.17 SPFX this week as well. So we'll see a new beta coming out as well, but not yet the GA version. That's coming in early April. So. New version for Eric as well. So
yeah, awesome.
Anyway, thanks everybody for watching or listening, depending on the chosen format. Thank you, Eric, for joining us on a great discussion. AKMS SB-Starter Kit. Is that the thing? Exactly. That's one of the things, and of course we do hope to see everybody in the in-person conferences. Even Waldek is apparently coming to Düsseldorf, so that is a.
I'm going to miss that.
Exactly.
Waldek in person in years. So
yes. Oh yeah.
Well,
it's a time where
it's a
we
short
would see each other like. Yeah, there was time where we would see each other like twice a year at least.
Yep.
Yeah, but
and then there were years where we have never seen each other again. So.
ESBC is in your hometown, so I do expect to see you in November, even if you're just attending. I got us at Tobias. He came down to Copenhagen from Malmo last November, and he was just attending.
For him, is just
those
like
kind of things are great.
half an hour drive.
Exactly.
I know. Yeah.
But cool. That's it for this one. We'll jump then to the weekly articles covering the Microsoft community articles right after this interview. But thank you, Eric. Awesome stuff. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye all.
Excellent. Thank you, Eric, for the great discussion, and thank you for joining us on the call or on the interview. It's always good to catch up, and thank you for the great work on what you're doing on the community side as well. So our MVPs are for sure how would I put it? We're highly appreciated for our MVPs helping us to succeed, because without our MVPs, we would not actually even know what is the right thing to do. In many cases, MVPs represent our customers and partners and explain Microsoft what is actually needed. So maybe for sure, I can say, well, that you and me are a bit of an exception. We work quite closely with partners and customers, but still MVPs work on a day-to-day basis with the customer projects. So therefore, MVPs are highly appreciated because they actually have hands-on things. I haven't written anything useful for a long time, you know.
What do you mean? You write docs. You write.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair.
Emails.
That is fair. That's fair.
Very helpful.
That's fair. No, but it's the small developer in me who's always like, but I want to write something kind of nice. But that's why we have open source projects, right? So we can do a lot of other stuff as well. Anyway, me rambling. Let's jump on the weekly articles to go through what's happening over there. Not that much actually this week, but it seems to be an interesting upcoming week. So let me share my screen.
Before the storm, I'll call
Exactly. So let's start with the hack together. This is written by you, so Waldek, can you actually explain what this is all about?
Yeah,
and how was it?
This is an article that's the summary from the first week that we had on a hack. So March 1 to March 15, meaning this is the last week of the hackathon, we organized a virtual hackathon all around Microsoft Graph and .NET. the idea is basically to get folks exposed to what can you do with Microsoft Graph and why would you use .NET and Microsoft Graph to build cool apps for work and school. This is about week 1. In week 2, which is the last week as we're recording that, we had an Ask the Experts call where we had a bunch of experts: Brian, Jacket, Maisa, Risi, Andrew Omondi from the Graph team, and Justin Yu from .NET Advocates, basically asking them stuff about anything and everything, like what kind of APIs are there, what can you do with Graph, how can you use things, can you use this account or that type of account. So really great way for us to, to help people understand what they can do with Graph, and also expose them to who are these folks behind, the big name Microsoft Graph and .NET, and who are they and what do they do, right? So it was a great way for us to engage it. As I said, this week we are on the last week, and the cool thing is it's still not too late to join us. If you have anything done on Microsoft Graph and .NET, submit your hack by end of day, Wednesday, March 15, to make chance to win one of the cool prizes that we have, amongst which Xbox and some other cool things like cash prizes, Azure credits, and digital badges.
Now I have to ask a question from just out of my curiosity, because we're kind of now here. This is a great event. We're mixing the .NET developer ecosystem with the Microsoft 365 developer ecosystem, which is awesome because of course it should overlap because you will write .NET stuff in the Microsoft 365. So, but how do you see the different ecosystems and communities kind of an overlapping? Because I'm just making an assumption, because of course in Microsoft 365 we have been building enterprise solutions for a long time, and it's this enterprise solutions. There's a lot of money, and the enterprise to enterprise is B2B, but that's not necessarily always visible for the customer or the let's say the end user driven ecosystem, which potentially .NET might be even more. How do you is it aligning? Was it like was there interesting questions related on the different ecosystem kind of overlapping and finding that a lot of new opportunities?
So the interesting thing is, right, like in this event we wanted to reach to .NET developers or folks who are working with .NET or are about to learn .NET and preferably have never heard about the Microsoft Graph. So they have no idea what it is, right? So really net new audience from the Microsoft Graph and Microsoft 365 point of view. And what's really cool to see like how engaged that audience is. These are all passionate devs, whether coming from school, changing jobs, or even pro devs who have been around for a long time and they just didn't have a chance to get exposed to Microsoft 365, right? So it's really great to see how receptive there are to like Microsoft Graph, the things it offers, the things that they can do with that. And it's so cool to see like the hacks that people build within the last 2 weeks. Like we have, as we're recording this, I think 30 of them already. And it's cool to see like they vary from simple things to like there was even a person who improved our own SDKs, and that hack became a PR to an SDK and is already shipped in the SDK, and that's just within a few weeks. So it's really cool to see how many other folks are there outside of our direct community who are very much interested in the things that we do, but they just don't know about us. So like going where they are is, the old adage that we say, like, we should do this, we should do that. But this is really events like that give us that ability to work with other teams at Microsoft who reach these devs and then work together with them to tell them more about the interesting things that we do and that are very interesting to them too.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. Anyway, sorry for interrupting on the question. Now,
all good.
Maisa recently had a new blog post as well related to Microsoft Graph, and this is not a coincidence, to be honest. Microsoft Graph.NET SDK v5 is not generally available as well, so a lot of cool improvements in that sense, making .NET development again easier with the Microsoft Graph. So awesome. Thank you, Maisa, on that one. We will cover some of this stuff in the future community calls as well. And then there was a blog post related on Microsoft Graph Toolkit v3 as a preview first.
Exactly, right? So MGT, as it's called for short, is the easiest way to connect your client-side app to Microsoft Graph. And now it's been improved, right? So this is a first preview version of MGT version 3 with some cool improvements around UI. There is new picker that allows you to, or allows users to select an item that is exposed through the Microsoft Graph. There are tons of other improvements and fixes. So definitely if you use MGT or you're looking to find this easiest way to connect your app to Microsoft Graph and tap into the data and insights that are stored on Microsoft 365, give it a try.
Absolutely, really, really cool stuff. And then there was a new blog post from the Power Automate side around maximizing your productivity with Power Automate, automating your calendar, and a great storyline related on what we can do within the calendar with Power Automate, which is a lot of stuff. As you create the calendar invite, you create things, reminders and emails arriving. You initiate flow, which will remind you within a few weeks and all of that, or booking time for the processing on things. So there's a lot of interesting opportunities related on using the Power Automate to manage your day-to-day work. So really cool stuff.
There's one thing that I could wish, and I hope that it will come one day. I wanted to attend meetings for me and then summarize them.
Oh, that would be good. Yes, absolutely. Can you send a hologram on behalf of me and give me a summary on what actually happened?
Not hologram, yes. A video feed, like we're doing this now. Video.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but it's not me. So as long as it's not me who has to be in the meeting, it will be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
So. Now, then there was 11 new independent publisher connectors in February 2023. So this is a summary related on those. So basically, what are the 11 new things? Thank you, by the way, Troy Taylor once again on providing multiple. I think it's 5 from Troy, and then a few others. Lucas is doing also 2 as well. But Troy has been really defining a lot of these independent connector storylines. So creating those connectors. Thank you for Troy on that. Now, this one is interesting. Something which we don't even share too much information internally. I've, of course, heard things, and probably Waldek, you heard things, but there will be a really interesting event happening later this week. So we're recording this on 13th, and this one will go 14th of March 2023, and 16th, which is then Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. There's going to be an event on future of work with our AI. And this is then touching, you can imagine that it will touch numerous pieces of Microsoft 365, the end user capabilities, functionalities, all of that stuff.
Microsoft Cloud and Azure, because AI is
exactly
used across all of the Microsoft Cloud.
Of course it is, yes. And of course, all of the Microsoft 365 features and capabilities who will have AI features are actually using the Azure AI, because that's how it's all tied into each other. So exactly, and maybe we will. There was rumors that we'll announce the ChatGPT 4. We'll see. So they'll say there's a lot of people speculating what will be the event all about. But tune in 8 a.m. Pacific time on March 16. Now, one thing to be aware. To this week and the next week is the daylight savings already started in US, but not in Europe. So if you're a European-based, or if you're based in Asia, APAC, and you are not using the time zones, like India doesn't do time zones, which is, by the way, smart. There is a switch within the hours, so it's good to double check the calendar invites. It's in my calendar. It's interesting if the meeting has been created by me versus it's created by you. As now it basically shifts, so everything goes, and you're like, I don't know what it is anymore. Now I was thinking this yesterday, by the way, the time zones. I'm just crossing fingers. So Europe is heading to remove all of time zones. So is US, which is great.
Really?
I'm just crossing fingers that please do it in the way that we will get a 1 hour more aligned with US. And so, hoping that will, because there's a massive debate on, are you going to do the summertime, are you going to daylight saving time, or are you going to do the standard time? So which one do you actually going to take? So crossing fingers that it will overlap in a way.
Closer apart as opposed to even more apart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
let's see,
crossing fingers. So future will bring that. Now there's another event which is happening 29th of March. Can you talk about this one, Waldek?
Exactly, right.
Not too much details. We can't disclose too much again, but it's going to be an interesting event still.
Exactly, right. So we already announced, right, that now you have this ability to expose Teams apps across Outlook and Office, or the new Microsoft 365 app, right? And this event will be all about that. So telling you more about why is this great? What does it mean for you? What can you do with that? And why it is an interesting thing for you to think about as you think about building apps and bringing apps to teams and also in other locations across Microsoft 365 where people work.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is, as we're calling it out in the description as well. So the Microsoft Teams application are expanding across the Microsoft 365 suite. And again, it's the single page application, SaaS application, SharePoint Framework application using built for Microsoft Teams. All of those are then exposed to Microsoft 365 suite. And that's actually a lot of great opportunities for ISVs and partners, for sure. New audiences, new features, new capabilities. Now, Dan Toft had a nice blog post related on Camel Query. What is it and why it's still relevant in 2023? Or is it? So why isn't it old?
It is. It is
next. So just to clarify, Camel is a basically collaborative application markup language, but this is historically behind of the SharePoint and Microsoft lists, and those queries and functionalities still do make sense. The reason why it's actually most created is the technical dependencies behind of the scenes. Some of us has been around for a while, then we know how the table structure in SharePoint, including Microsoft lists, isn't really a structural table. It's highly abstract table. So you cannot do SQL queries to query the information. You will need to do something else, and that's where the Camel came to be. So, but then Dan is basically explaining what it is and how does it work and how can we query things inside of the API surface. Now, Markus Müller had a first of his, I think this one was the one which he worked for the hackathon, wasn't it?
Correct, it is. So this is a hack that Markus built, which is a file conversion.
It's not a hack, it's a solution.
It's a hack.
No,
if it's submitted for the hackathon, it's a hack.
It's a bad word. No, just kidding.
No, it's
just
not.
Kidding.
They're actually pretty cool hacks people build. No, there's nothing wrong about hacks,
right?
So this is a cool app that he's built
that
allows
make
you to
him a hacker?
What's wrong with that?
Never mind. Please continue. I'm going to interrupt you a few more times.
Famous last words, right? So this is an app that he's built that allows you to convert files in Teams tabs, right? So imagine that you have file in one format and you want to convert it to another. You can do it directly from a tab in Teams, and that's also a cool thing because it's a Teams app. You can expose the same app now in Outlook and Office too. So basically, wherever you are, if you need to convert a file like a doc into HTML or PDF, you can do it directly where you are. And there's like a gajillion formats that he supports, like 3, G2.
Yeah. Well,
I don't even know
what the system supports. He's exposing them. Yes, indeed. So.
Exactly. But it's really cool to have that ability already in the place where you work, as opposed to now you need to go to a service on the internet and upload your file from work into someone else's API. Like that's odd. Whereas here, like this app lives in your tenant, right?
Workspace.
So
absolutely.
Data doesn't leave your workplace.
Yeah, the online conversion tooling, they're of course sniffing all of the data what you're submitting to them. That's just, you're agreeing to the terms. Now, Markus Müller also had another blog post related on remove user consent from the Azure AD Enterprise Application Service Principle with Microsoft Graph. A super descriptive or might be confusing title, but basically how do we avoid the end users not to have the consent? So how do we avoid? How do we make the end user consent not to be visible? So you're basically granting the application to work in an organizational level using the administrative rights. So that's basically what it means. Administrator approves, and it's actually well explained here. Administrator approves for the whole org, and then that means that the end users no longer need to be like, hey, what are these permissions? This is freaking me out. I can't make a decision.
They cannot do that, and they cannot do that, right? Because like oftentimes, especially like at Microsoft, like I am not allowed to grant anything to anything.
True.
So this is basically a way like how admin can expose or basically allow app to be used by employees.
Absolutely. Now, Todd Paczynski had a new blog post as well, how to grow your community with Power Platform. With a video.
Oftentimes, like we think about using Power Platform for things like work, like automating your work processes and all of that. But it's also cool that it can be used for other things. Like in this article, like Todd talks about how he uses it for his son's
Lacrosse.
lacrosse team. Yeah, exactly, right. So how they use it to track data and do things in their team. So it's really cool to see like how versatile it is and how many ways you can apply that.
Absolutely. Really cool. Thank you, Todd, on that one. Peter Wenström had a blog post related on query Excel tables using Power Automate. Are they really tables? They are tables, but the first warning, what he's saying, is Excel a database? Well, no, it isn't.
Yes.
So just to be clear on that.
Of course it is.
Well, it's kind of a database, but you are storing a data in Excel, so and they're tables, so it's kind of a database. Absolutely, it's
not relational database. It's not a SQL database, but it is a database.
Correct. So you should be, however, a bit careful on how much files and information and all of that you store in the Excel. So if you're doing business critical, if you're doing business critical stuff, Excel or Access is not necessarily the best option, as we've seen with few examples, again, depending on scenarios and all of that. So that's really cool. And thank you, Peter, on that one. And then how do we carry that in Power Automate? So we get the information out of Excel files. Then there was a new message center post. There was a new message center show.
Episode.
Thank you. Episode 275. Teams explicit consent for meeting and a few other things. So these are the shows where Daryl and Daniel go through all of the different message center posts, which are coming from administrators, and then go through what does it actually mean in real world, which is good. So somebody translating the Microsoft jargon. Did I say it out loud?
Well, I mean, elaborate a bit more beyond the paragraph or
exactly
sentence that we put on there.
Exactly. That's true. That is true. Now, then there was a M365 session with Christian Buckley. What's the least disruptive way to enforce MFA? What is MFA?
MFA is a multi-factor auth, right? Meaning that when you authenticate to a site, you enter your username, password, and also something else that you have. And it can be a one-time password, like a number you get on your app, or a ping that you will get on your app on your phone. Like, hey, are you really trying to log into? Basically, to make it safer to use any kind of online app you might have. And that was this interesting announcement by one of the folks at Microsoft. And don't pin me on the number, but it was something like, just by the fact that you use MFA, it's like 40% or even more or less chance that you will be hacked.
Yeah, it's a significantly, it's a really hard thing to hack. Yeah. Now I have to call out to Christian and the discussion. The video isn't actually visible here. Storyline is good. Christian, Norm, Mike, and Christy are on the discussion. Now there was also in the recording 365, there was a Power of Microsoft List and Power BI with Daniel Klein and joining with the guy in the group. Basically Adam, to talk about the data in Microsoft Lists with Power BI and what we can do things, and that the integrations there are getting better and better and better, because Microsoft Lists are actually super widely used worldwide for storing information as well.
Database.
Well, but it's not an Excel.
Still a database.
Now, April Dunham had a new video around GPT Power and Virtual Agent conversations. Power Virtual Agents are basically the chat engine behind it's integrated into Microsoft Teams, and you can use GPT to power and enhance those experiences as well, which is really, really cool. And this is an 8-minute, 39 seconds long intro about that topic. So thank you, April. That's good to have you back on sharing videos. Paolo had a new video as well, episode 241. So
241, yes. About how do you share file via Power Automate and Microsoft Graph. So on Microsoft Graph, there's this API that allows you to share a file with other folks. And how can you tap into that API from Power Automate flows?
That's actually really cool. You can create those links automatically and then just share the link automatically to somebody and they can access the files. That's actually, finally we can easily access the files. It's been 86 years.
All about the APIs. It's again all about the APIs.
It is.
The APIs are there, you can automate things. So
yes, 100%. APIs first. ABS first. Now, Laura Rogers had a power hour focusing on content types, and content types are basically the many information structures for managing data, and they're quite often used to decorate the files and information which is being stored, for example, in SharePoint, to then for enforce categorization and metadata to be included with the files. So content types, really good thing, really traditional thing, and super powerful for search and findability and all of that. Good video as well. Shane Young had a series of videos, quite a few of them actually, within the past 6 days. So basically, going 10 videos. We're not going to list all of this, Shane. We're going to link people to your YouTube channel, but 10 new videos, all of them being like 10 minutes or a bit less. Great, really nice snack-sized videos focusing on things. So thank you, Shane, on helping these things to happen. Really cool. And then the final video is from Giuliano De Luca on how to turn on pronouns in your Microsoft 365. So he, him, she, her, they, and all of those settings. And that's the new feature which is now available. But you need to go to the administrative UX to enable that capability to be available in the organizational level. Cool.
Exactly.
And that's it. We're all done. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
So
right on time, by the way.
Yes, exactly.
But thank you one more time, Eric, joining us today on the discussion. Good to catch up as well. Anything, any last words? Last words.
But stay tuned. Use hashtag PnP Weekly to let us know about anything and everything you do. Word, yes. Other than that, join us for the last week of the Hack Together Microsoft Graph and .NET. See you online.
Sounds good. Awesome. See you in a week. Cheers. Bye-bye.